Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be doing a very similar concept to my last video where we discussed if Michael Penix Jr. would be a good buy in 2026. We're going to be doing the same thing with a little bit more of a controversial player. One who has a lot of upside but is coming off, well, the worst season of his very short career, and that is Brian Thomas Jr. We're going to be going over the pros and cons of Brian Thomas Jr. and why he may or may not be a good buy in 2026. Starting with the pros, Brian Thomas Jr. was elite his rookie year, having nearly 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. Now, obviously, he did not put up nearly those same numbers in 2025, having only 707 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that is obviously a dramatic decrease. However, he was dealing with injuries, and that receiving room in Jacksonville was unbelievably crowded. And that's what's going to lead us into our first con. Brian Thomas Jr. is still with that very crowded receiving room. You have Strange, you have Parker Washington, you have Travis Hunter, that's going to be rotating in and out. You also have Jakobi Meyers. So I just think it's going to be really hard for Brian Thomas Jr. to put up Pro Bowl type numbers or numbers like he did his rookie year with all those 4 players on the team. Now here's a little bit of a pro. Jacksonville's running game, especially after losing Travis Etienne, isn't going to be the most deadly. So they're probably going to be heavily reliant on the passing game rather than the run game. So I guess you could look at that as a positive, obviously. But still, very crowded receiving room. And I think most people around the league are expecting a bit of a regression for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last year, it was kind of, a surprising year for them. I think they went 13-4, winning their division, and unfortunately losing against the Bills in the wild card round. But I don't think a lot of people expected them to have the season that they had. And obviously now with them losing guys like Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne, I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to really get back to, contending for the AFC South. And you have teams like the Texans, who have the best defense in the league, and the Colts, who, if Daniel Jones could stay healthy and Sauce Gardner, they're a really good football team. And if you combine all those things, that the Jaguars might not even make the playoffs, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to go into an even more crowded receiving room. It's a really big risk to buy his cards. Obviously, he had a down year 2025, and there's a huge possibility that he might bounce back, but there's also an even bigger possibility that, one, the Jaguars might not be as good as last year, and he might just get overcrowded by guys like Jakobi Meyers, Parker Washington, Strange, and Travis Hunter. So my personal advice for Brian Thomas Jr. would be to, wait until week 3, see if he, puts together a couple of good games, and if he does, then maybe you can buy your Brian Thomas Jr. cards. For those who already have Brian Thomas Jr. cards and are looking to sell, again, wait for him to, catch fire during the season if he ever does. And if he does, obviously, that's when you start to get rid of your cards. So basically, to sum up my final point, those who are buying Brian Thomas Jr. cards, only do it if he's clearly the focal point of that Jacksonville offense, and if the Jacksonville Jaguars would actually, surprise a lot of people and actually go back to the playoffs, then by all means, you can buy your Travis Hunters, Trevor Lawrences, and all of that. If, however, he is, having maybe an 80-yard game and then a 120-yard game and then like a 30-yard game, then I would say just hold off on Brian Thomas Jr. until he really proves himself as the focal point of that offense. I just watched the recording. My mic is horrific, but thank you for sticking around if you made it to the end, and more videos coming out soon.